we do have football starting this week, and we do have football starting in the ACC. I understand that everybody wants to talk about the SEC and the Big Ten, but the ACC certainly has some contenders as well, especially at the top. A lot of people really like Clemson this year, and they are your favorites to win the ACC at -110. Win total 9.5. I do think there are maybe 3 or 4 other teams that can contend with Clemson. Miami is 4-1 this year. We know they have Carson Beck. We know they had a great squad last year, but huge questions on their defense, which they're saying, hey, we revamped our defense. We went to the transfer portal. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like every team says this every single year. Louisville's supposed to be good again this year as well. Plus 750. They've got Miller Moss coming over from USC at quarterback. SMU, a team that played in the college football playoff just a year ago, is plus 850, win total of 8.5. And then some people are high on Georgia Tech. They're 12-1 and a win total of 7.5. Remember, they went to Dublin last year and won in a thriller, I believe, against, who is it, Florida State? So they started their season off great last year. I think that's probably the contenders for me. I don't think I can really make a case for anybody else in the ACC. Jenks, is there anybody else you want to throw in the contenders category?
No, I'm looking. I think SMU is sort of interesting, and I can give you a few reasons why. Like Rhett Lashley, I think, is a hell of a head coach, and Kevin Jennings really came on at the end of last year before just losing his mind in that Penn State game. I remember that vividly because I thought SMU can keep this within the number, and then just Jennings he just didn't know what he was doing. He just couldn't handle the crowd noise. Wasn't a good performance from him, even though he is a good quarterback. And they got some interesting guys in the portal who can catch passes out of the backfield. TJ Harden out of UCLA. They'll put up a ton of points. They're fun to watch, but the problem is they're just not Clemson. Like, Clemson really is far and away the best program in this conference, which everyone knows. They might win it all. Like, I'm big on Clemson this year. And they have so much talent back. Like, Kate Klubnik could win the Heisman. There's no question about it. At receiver, they got Antonio Williams back. They have Bryant Westco Jr. back. Tyler Brown is there. So he's got, I believe, 3 of his top 4 starters from last year. Most of that offensive line is back. And then on the defensive line, they have some studs as well, particularly TJ Parker, who is just one of the best players in the country. I mean, at every level, Clemson looks like a national title contender. So at -110, I have to say, I kind of don't mind that price. I don't see anyone catching Clemson. I'm surprised you're not paying more minus money, which kind of sounds strange when you're talking about winning a conference, but they really are far and away better than everyone else.
Right, and I think their schedule kind of lines up for it. I will say, if you're high on Clemson to win the national championship, you should probably do it before the first game of the season, because it is a big one to start the year against LSU. And I think this is an important point to make when you're talking about futures. Timing is everything. Like, I understand we're doing a season preview because the season's about to start, but I think some of these bets you need to make sooner rather than later, especially these teams that start the season with a big game. And conversely, you can look at other teams that, maybe you could wait and say, okay, I think they're going to lose their first game of the season, because I don't know about you, Jenks, but I have questions about Miami. Like, Carson Beck is an entrenched veteran. He's played for forever, it feels like. But I still have big questions about their defense, and they start the season against Notre Dame. So I think I kind of like Notre Dame, even though they are the road team in that situation. So I think if you like Miami, you wait and maybe bet on their win total when it's adjusted after that game. Or I guess you could take the under, but the rest of their schedule, it lines up pretty well. The fact that they play a ton of games in the state of Florida. Like, I don't think they leave the state of Florida until October 17th when they play Louisville, but they do play Florida. That should be a tough game. Florida State, I have questions about them, as does everybody else. But if we are talking about quarterbacks and outside of the realm of contenders, keep your eye on Darian Mensah for Duke. He's being paid $4 million a year, and we know that Duke has surprised people before. I'm not saying that they can win the conference. I am just saying that they're a scrappy team that maybe you take the points when they're playing there's the bigger contenders in the conference. I know Haynes King is also somebody who has gotten some headlines at Georgia Tech as well. Jenks, I know you're probably not a Haynes King fan. Didn't he come from Texas A&M?
He did. I used to hate him, but now I really like him a lot. I think he does a great job now.
Oh,
yeah.
he's cured.
Well, yeah. You got to get people. This is a country of second chances. And I'm like, all right, if you go elsewhere, all right, I like you now. And he's done so much better at Georgia Tech. Like, he's really established himself as one of the better players in college football. Very exciting player. Of course, had that huge win last year over Miami. I just want to go back to Miami for a second because I think isn't it Carson Beck? Isn't that the problem with Miami? Which I know it's not the only problem. But last year, their issue was their secondary, where how many games, I mean, now you're going to be a Cam Ward fan because he's a Titan. How many games outside of that Georgia Tech one did Cam Ward save the season by making a great play or bringing Miami back late or throwing a deep pass, whatever it was? Like, it was a lot of times they would just get involved in shootouts. It was because they had Cam Ward at quarterback. So they can't afford to do that again, and they tried to address that. They brought in Corey Heatherman from Minnesota to try and revamp that defense, and they brought in a lot of new players. They're going to be really stout on the defensive line. Like, teams are going to have a very hard time running the ball on Miami. But they revamped that secondary, and they're learning a new system, and the secondary was the real weakness last season. So if they get in the same spot this year where teams are able to go deep on them or able to put up points, I'm not really confident that now you have Carson Beck being the guy that needs to lead you back again and again and again, because he'll look great and then all of a sudden, throw sort of this mindless pick.
Yeah, I don't trust Carson Beck that much. I feel like with guys who have trouble throwing interceptions in big moments, like, that's something that feels hard to cure for me. Like, if you're a bad decision-making quarterback, that's not something that, like, immediately leaves you after one offseason or a change to a different school. I will say, looking at the quarterbacks in the ACC, it's a pretty good crop, and there's a lot of guys who are returning. So if you look at it from that standpoint, they have a list of, like, ranking them. Like, Cade Klubnik is one of the favorites to win the Heisman, and I think he has a really good shot at winning it. Carson Beck, which we just discussed, I don't know about that. Kevin Jennings, who has a good track record with the exception of a few playoff games. Haynes King. We go to Miller Moss, who's played, like, it feels like 15 seasons. And then Darian Mensah at Duke. So I know it doesn't have the depth of the SEC, but I do think there's some wild cards here, because we know if you have a good quarterback in college, it can cure a lot of problems. It feels like, those advertisements for, what is it, Flex Seal, where he puts, like, the sticker on the water. Yes. Like, we've seen this.
Yeah.
Like, in college football, if you have a great quarterback, it can cure a lot of problems, like we saw with Cam Ward last year.
Yeah.
So I do think that there are a few teams that could maybe contend, but in the end, I do think the team that goes to the college football playoff out of the ACC is Clemson. Do we see another team going to the college football playoff? Do you think the ACC can get two teams in?
Maybe by virtue of the fact that I feel like this conference is a little top heavy. But then again, maybe it's not. But it kind of is, really. I mean, you got Clemson, Miami, Louisville, SMU, and then there's a drop, right? Like, Georgia Tech might be kind of a dark horse, I guess. Florida State has fallen off in a big way, which is just crazy. I mean, a couple of years ago, they were just gangbusters, and here they are sitting at 25-1 with a win total of 6.5. Like, what a fall. But because it's sort of top-heavy, then, it's not the strongest conference. So I think you probably could see a Miami or Louisville, maybe an SMU, one of those teams slip in as one of the lower seeds.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to take the win total for Clemson, over 9.5. We didn't even discuss, Dabo Swinney used to be on top of the mountaintop of best coaches in college football. I still think he is a great coach.